started.
Hi.
So we are very happy to be here at Team'22 in Las Vegas. What's this like for you?
It's just exciting to be back. My first team back then was Summit was 2019. That was the first time here, and it's definitely a smaller audience, but a lot of interest and excitement. I think just meeting people again.
Absolutely.
Lots of new things to talk about, so it's good to be here.
Great. So maybe we should start with a little introduction.
Sure.
Amita, what's your role at Atlassian?
So I run product marketing for ITSM solutions at Atlassian.
And I'm Vincent, and I'm one of the product managers in IT solutions.
Great, it's great that we have the chance to meet you here. And of course, we would love to talk about Jira Service Management,
Yes.
which is a product, a service, we should say today, that we're really excited about. Many of our customers are using it for all sorts of service management topics. In the keynotes yesterday, you had this nice storyline around a music band in comparison to service teams. And the balance between autonomy and alignment. What is the idea behind that? What are you thinking about that?
I think the main thing we're trying to communicate is that today you've got to really move really quickly, right? You have to respond to changes quickly. Everything that you do is digital, right? Especially with COVID, pretty much everything had to turn digital overnight. And in that scenario, you've got to be able to connect people really quickly. And then that moving quickly, you want to be able to give the people the autonomy to move fast. But there's also risk if you aren't coordinating the work. So how do you balance the two, right? You could be agile, right, and keep running fast, but you have to make sure that there's that balance. That was important to communicate, that when you design systems and solutions and processes, that there is that balance put in place. That was the main essence of what we were trying to say. So all the announcements we tried to bring together. If you look at the main areas in service management, we talked about operations, right? How do you bring teams together, and how you think about modern operations organizations, which is just keeping your services up and running, right? Everything you do, everything's has a digital front. You think of retail, everything has a front online store, for example. Making sure it's up and running. How do you bring dev and operations together? Same thing on the support side. You, me, all of us, if you want support, it's hard to get support unless you have it up and running too, right? So, yeah.
Speaking about the announcements, many of our customers have been doing service management with Jira Core, Jira software for many, many years, and then Jira Service Management was released, and many of them switching to service management, and now you're steadily improving your positioning in the market with the acquisitions of different tools, and now you have some interesting news to tell. What are they this year?
So we've been doing, as you said, several acquisitions over the last more than about 3 years now. We've done about 8 acquisitions and adding capabilities to grow from Jira Service Desk to Service Management. We've doubled our customer count in 3 years. So that's now 40,000 customers. Super excited about that. The main things we talked about were capabilities and change management, right? Especially on the operations side. And then the other area was on the support side, talking about things like adding a KB, a knowledge base. Previously, you'd have to install Confluence separately. Now we've built in a knowledge base based on Confluence that's free and no extra charge. It's in JSM. The second thing we talked about was help and conversational ticketing capabilities. We had acquired that company. It's now included in Jira Service Management. We also talked about the acquisition of Percept.ai and virtual agents and how we're rolling that into the product. So there's a lot of new things coming into the product, as well as one of the things that you should probably talk about is the vision of unified help, right? How, if you look at every company, how they engage, there's different tools, different channels. You shouldn't have to standardize on one ITSM solution. How do you make that possible? And I'm sure you can talk a lot more about that.
Yeah, love to.
What thrilled me most is actually the use of artificial intelligence. I think there's a lot of potential in here. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people just throw in AI to think they will solve all the problems in the world, and I think there's a place for AI, and I think the thing we notice building AI products is like the data that underline the powers of AI is super important. I think that's why if you look at how we are looking at this unified hub, we're connecting all the different tools because you need the data there for the AI to actually learn, understand, and be smart enough to actually route to the right team, understand kind of what users are talking about, etc. So I think for us, we see AI being very prominent, solving a lot of the very complex problems that today is very difficult. Problems that around like routing, finding experts, understanding what people mean, really actually trying to connect the teams to the employees a lot better.
That's right, and especially when it comes to larger service organizations, I can have the feeling that AI will help really to scale a service organization even better in the future. And if I look at our business, we are working with a lot of agile departments and larger corporations. We are working with a lot of SMBs as well, and in this field, Atlassian has, with Jira Service Management, certainly the offering that is offering the best time to market at the best price. So that's a really strong competitive position here. Looking at the larger enterprises, there is still a stronger competition with ServiceNow and others. Now you are working on your positioning. You are gaining momentum with Forrester, with Gartner, which is very, very good
Exciting.
to see. What is your vision here? What are your targets here? And what are the main benefits now of the Jira Service Management offering for large enterprises?
So as we were just talking about, everything that we do is becoming a product or services has a digital presence, right? So when you think of that, that's software driven. It's becoming a very software driven world. So in that area, you have to have a much tighter connection with development and IT operations, right? Who has that footprint and that base? Atlassian has a very strong foothold in that space. So it only makes sense that we understand that connection between development to how important it is for every team to be that same way of taking that same concept of agility. And so everything that we're doing to connect those teams, that's a different mentality. People are thinking about operations differently, about how development and operations has to be tightly tight. And I think that's our route into, as we talk to enterprises, I think that is beginning to resonate. Companies are changing the way they operate. Even what we previously called large enterprise, like Saint-Gobain is a great example, right? 167,000 employees in 70 different countries. They switched from ServiceNow to Jira Service Management as an example for this one reason. They wanted to have one platform for development to operations, be able to smooth the transitions between work, right? And you think of that as a company that's been here for 3.5 centuries, right? But they're transforming too. Right?
That's right. While the roots of Atlassian and also of ITSM and Jira Service Management is in IT services. There is a huge market around all the other business departments, internal self-services, product support, and others. What is your story to the non-IT users in companies?
I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that how quickly people can get started, right? And a lot of the emphasis of what we're doing from a product perspective is making it simple. How do you deliver value fast, right? Very easy for companies to get started with setting up a service desk for any team to be able to do that. One of the acquisitions I didn't mention earlier was Proforma, right? And we built that forms capability in a no-code, low-code form builder in the product so that any team could spin up a great service experience and then be able to take in requests, right? So you start small in every team, but in a large enterprise, as more and more teams start using the offering, it very quickly becomes the backbone for the full enterprise. And we're seeing that in a lot of enterprises as well, right? So any team can get started and it becomes the service management layer across the enterprise, across operations and support.
And it's actually the usability of Proforma that really astonished me. So you all should take a look at that.
I absolutely should. I would highly recommend. It's in the product now. We've rolled it out. So we're also very proud of the fact that we're making very laser focused on the acquisitions, bringing it in and quickly rolling it out. And that's thanks to the product folks we have as well. So.
And I also add to what Amita was saying, like I think a lot of actually different business teams actually use the service that IT or another team that's already using Jira Service Management offers, and then they witness how easy it is. They're like, oh, this form's really good. how can I actually have this experience for what I'm working on? And that's kind of how Jira Service Management kind of spread in organizations, right? And then become that backbone. Because I think the end experience we give to the employees is so simple, so easy to use, to get something in that like they want their business unit to do the same thing as well. So.
Very, very good. Now, as we are already approaching the end of these sprinting 2 days of Team'22, what was your most touching conversation or your best takeaway?
You know, I actually sat in, and if you missed it, you should probably watch it. There was a conversation between Scott Farquhar, our CEO, and Bob Iger from Disney. There were some couple of moments in there about leading through adversity. How do you just culture? How do you set the culture of a company? And very similar things between how we work at Atlassian and at the scale that Disney is at. It's kind of interesting to see the parallels. I thought there was a couple of good learnings from that. That if you haven't watched the recordings, I'd encourage people to watch it.
I can encourage that too.
Yeah.
I've seen that conveation. It was
very
very
nice.
touching. Yeah. How about you, Vincent?
I was going to say the same thing, but but I also have a lot of great conversations with customers. A lot of like some business that's been impacted massively during COVID, layoffs, etc. But then really, the ones that are remaining, like really try to stick around and change their business with sort of the products we offer and how that's actually helping them, how the business continues to sustain as well. So I think it's really amazing to see. Like the last few years have been so tough on all of us. So I think it was great kind of coming back, talking to these customers, understanding how we can continue to help solve the problems as well.
Very good. Thank you very much for the interesting conversation. Enjoy the rest of this event. It's been great to be together here again. And hopefully this won't be the last time for the next few years, but we will have continuing team events over the next years in person.
We definitely appreciate the partnership. Thank you.
Yeah, see you next year.
Yeah.